So we're in the brew house here at the Geneseo Brewing Company in downtown Geneseo. And I know what you're saying, ripoff, this is a rerun. It's not a rerun of Brewed, unless it is. So here's the thing. We've been here at Geneseo Brewing Company when it was under construction. We came back and we tried their beers, but that was a long time ago. There have been some changes. There's a new sheriff in town. Meet Glenn. Glenn's the new brewmaster, right?
Yeah, head brewer, yeah.
Head brewer, how about that? So let's talk about your background, how you got started. Give me the whole history, but keep in mind the show's only a half an hour long.
All right, yeah. So I'm originally from St. Louis.
Okay, they know something about beer down there.
A little bit. There's about 75 breweries in a 100-mile radius down there. So yeah, lots of breweries. I started at the Hofbrauhaus in St. Louis, so international German brand. Apprenticed under a German brewmaster for 6 months, and then made the move up here.
Let me ask you a question about Hofbrauhaus.
Sure.
Do they bring actual Germans over to brew the beer there in St. Louis, or is it all just imported?
The brewmaster was a German brewmaster from Munich, and I was his assistant.
So. That's crazy, because it's like you got an international education.
Oh yeah.
But you didn't have to leave St. Louis. Mm-hmm. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so then ended up at Bent River. I was an assistant brewer there and eventually their marketing director for about a year. And then this opportunity arose, and now I'm the head brewer at Geneseo Brewing.
So I'm seeing a little bit of a weird turn there. Walk me through this. You're in St. Louis, one of the greatest beer communities in America. You are learning how to brew under a German brewmaster, right? Hofbrauhaus, amazing beers, right?
Definitely.
And then you come up here and you're doing marketing.
Yeah.
You're not making beer? You didn't make beer over there?
I did the small batch beers.
That had to drive you nuts though, right? Because as fun as it is to type in fun things on the social media, it's got to be killing you that you're not making beer.
Yeah, I was a closing brewer, so I finished brews while also doing the marketing. I wore two hats for sure.
Closing brewer. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So you're like, it's like the 8th inning, and they say, come on in here and finish it. We need a left-handed brewer. How does that work?
Those big brews over at Bent River, they take a lot of hands. There's usually about 12 people that are somehow involved in one batch of beer.
So you worked there at Rock Island. You're there at the Bent River for a while as a closing brewer, and then an opportunity arises here in Geneseo.
Yeah.
How does that work? Do you have to like audition?
Luckily, no. I just visit a lot of the other local breweries and spend a lot of time with the other brewers. And so Scott, who was the prior head brewer from the beginning, his family made the move to Rock Island, and he was making the move to Wake Brewing. So he's a brewer over at Wake now. And so he actually asked me before he even put in his notice if I'd be interested in taking his spot.
So that's gotta make you feel great, because I know Scott was really passionate about this place when he was here. For him to say to you, I'm taking off, I would feel better if you were doing it as opposed to some knucklehead off the street. That's gotta be,
Definitely. Yeah, because getting into the brewing industry, I don't know if you know this, but it's pretty hard. There's a lot of people start from washing kegs and sweeping the floor, and I was lucky enough to start under a German brewmaster apprenticeship. So I kind of skipped some levels, and
And that's why a lot of brewers in town resent you. I'm imagining. No, they all say good things. Now you've got a bunch of flagship brews here that there would be rioting in the streets if you were to mess with, right? Like the Geneseo beer, the Yep Yep, the Squirrel's Nuts. You can never not make those beers, right?
I'm making them constantly, and they're exactly Scott's recipes, so I haven't made any changes to those 3 beers.
How much of it, because this is art, right? What you're doing here is art. Beer, we've said this a million times on the show, it's the intersection of art and science, right? You're an artist, right?
Yeah, sure.
And there is a certain amount of ego for something like that. Like, how tempting is it to come in and go, all right, this is how we're going to do things. We're doing things the Glen way from now on. You have a product here that people have embraced and fallen in love with and travel for miles and miles to come and try the beer here. So you want to make sure that you pay proper respect to that, but also, like, Scott's not here. It's Glen's show, right? So how do you balance that?
Well, having that marketing background was the biggest help. So when I came here, one of my main things was told them, I'll be the head brewer, but I still want to be in charge of all the marketing. So I want to bring people from the Quad Cities here often. I want to constantly have new beers on, constantly giving people a reason to come back, and to make Geneseo a bigger part of the Quad City area, not having this big gap in between.
So having a mindset that is a little bit rooted in marketing, imagine you're pretty aware of like where holes are in the Quad City market. Like you're able to say, okay, what are a handful of things that everyone else isn't doing, and maybe that's something you try. I say that because you're showing me here and I've never heard of this before, a wine beer hybrid.
Yeah,
that seems like you're tampering in God's domain there.
Yeah, so
I feel like Jeff Goldblum here. You never asked if you should do it. Explain to me what this is.
So I do a lot of barrel fermenting and barrel aging. So I was able to get a couple wine barrels, some white wine and some red wine, and then source wine must and grape juice from different areas.
Wine must
still has the skins and all of it's crushed grapes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So in those barrels right now, we have a Sauvignon Blanc and then all of the beer that went into it is all New Zealand ingredients. So it's a New Zealand wine base, and then all of the beer that went in, all of the hops were sourced from New Zealand. So they all it goes together.
See, Glenn, this is what I'm talking about. I've never heard of that. And I mean, we go places and learn about beer for the show. I've never heard of that anywhere in this area or beyond. How do you come up with something like that?
We have a lot of wine drinkers here. And so one of the big things that I was trying to do when I got in here was to make some beers that were more approachable for people that drink other things. So we have a lot of bourbon barrel aged beers. We have a lot of new wine fermented beers. We had a Moscow Mule beer. We sell a lot of Moscow Mules here. So I was trying to get these beers as an introductory to kind of get people to drink more of our beer, and just craft beer in general.
So rather than saying, okay, Geneseo, this is what you're going to drink, you're saying, okay, Geneseo, what are you thirsty for? And then modeling the beer based on that.
Correct.
Like market research. I can see like all the time you spent doing everything you've done to get to this point.
It all comes together.
It does. It's diabolical how well it all comes together for you. Well, we've been hearing great things. That's why we had to come back. So
excellent.
Keep up the good work. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And cheers.
We're going to do it the same as other people, but different. Yeah, copyright pending.